Bonjour and hello and greetings from the United States of America, specifically Michigan. I'm sorry I can't be with you today, but I really am happy for this opportunity to join all of you with this taped message. Last year in the United States, there were 37,461 traffic fatalities across the country. In Michigan, it was 1,021. Both of those were a 6% increase from the year before. Now, if you break that down on a per-day basis, that's 100 people per day that die in traffic accidents across the United States. And specifically for me in Michigan, that's 3 people a day. So safety is our top priority at the Michigan Department of Transportation. Now, as we look at those fatalities, 94% of those accidents and crashes were caused by driver error. Now, studies have been done that shows that connected automated vehicle technologies will reduce those fatalities and reduce those crashes by 80%. So if you just do the quick math and say, maybe 80% is not right, maybe only half of that. Let's just say it's only 40%. What that means specifically in Michigan is there's 400 people alive this year that died last year in a traffic crash. That's why it's so important that we in Michigan have taken this leap into connected automated vehicles. That's priority number 1. Priority number 2 was about economic development. It's about advancing the use of technology across our whole transport network to make it more efficient. And it's also about supporting our core industry in the state of Michigan, which is automobile manufacturing, and more specifically, research and development. Now, I don't know that you know this or not, but 376 companies call Michigan home, and that's 75% of all of North America's automotive R&D is done here in Michigan. So that's a core industry, and we very much want to make sure we're supporting that. Now, let's talk about connected and automated vehicles. And I know many of you know this, and I apologize if you already know it, but it's very important that people separate the two issues. A connected vehicle connects to other vehicles, vehicle to vehicle, or vehicle to infrastructure, and an autonomous vehicle operates completely with its own sensors. Where we see the value and where we predict the 80% reduction in fatalities will happen is when you have connected automation. If you think of an automated car, there's cars driving around today that can drive themselves and maneuver through a variety of issues, but it's contained solely in that car. That's much like a laptop computer, maybe sitting in front of you today, that is really, really smart. But when you connect it to the internet, it becomes exponentially smarter. That's where we really feel that the connected part has to come along so that we can get to the automated, or we get to the safety benefits. Now, we started with a strategic vision many years ago. And that strategic vision focused on customers, focused on safety, focused on partners, focused on workforce development, and it focused on mobility. And we said these 5 things is what we've got to focus on in total. So it's not just about a test bed here or a pilot there. It has to look at all of those components together. Now, I'm going to talk about a little bit of history here about some of the pilots that we've done. Some of them you may know, some of them you may not know. First and foremost, 2011 was the U.S. Department of Transportation Safety Pilot Model Deployment. That was done in Ann Arbor, had 3,000 vehicles, has a population of about 120,000 people. That was really viewed as the opportunity where we could have different makers, a Toyota and a Ford and GM, all talk together and realize those safety benefits. From that, we developed a number of partnerships. And in 2014, I was proud to have the CEO of General Motors, Mary Barra, announce a partnership between General Motors and Ford and the state of Michigan that announced smart corridors in southeast Michigan, which was about 120 miles of connected freeways in southeast Michigan. That number has now changed to 350 with a goal of 550 by the end of 2019. Those connected corridors became the platform for deployment and testing. And some of the tests that you've seen go on, like the 3M test, that was done on that platform. Without that platform, we wouldn't have been able to do that. 2015, we created M-City with a partnership between the state of Michigan and the University of Michigan, 32-acre test site, which is complete autonomous testing. That's heavy on the research side. That area and that facility generated 60 additional private companies that came to fully support its operations. Now that is fully subscribed. They're doing night testing, winter testing, and because of it, last year we announced the creation of the American Center for Mobility. That's just down the road, about 10 miles, and it is a 330-acre site that is being finished as we speak right now and will be live testing within a week. Further, in 2016 and 17, we did some research and development with the U.S. Army and their research and development area. And we did validation testing of vehicle-to-vehicle communications on military vehicles on Interstate 69. And this past year, we just completed a cross-border crossing of a completely autonomous military truck. It was a convoy, and the last two vehicles were completely autonomous. Along the same lines, we did an autonomous border crossing drive this year that went between Detroit, Michigan, through the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel, into Windsor, up to Sarnia, Ontario, across the Blue Water Bridge, a steel structure, into Port Huron, and then up to Northwest Michigan. In a total about 300 miles, and 95% of the time, it was driving in automated mode. Now, a lot of this is in place and is happening because of the legislation that was passed in December of 2016, just 11 months ago. That legislation looked specifically at completely allowing autonomous vehicle operations. Not testing, allows its operations anywhere, anytime, no special driver's license and no special license plate. It also authorized on-demand automated networks. That's ride sharing. That's a driverless Uber, driverless Lyft as we have in the US. It also fully operationalized truck platooning. Truck platooning is where two trucks are traveling very close together. That is completely legal in Michigan. In fact, there's another demonstration coming up here within the next week of your conference where we'll be demonstrating that with an OEM in the truck business. It also created the Council on Future Mobility, which is tasked with looking forward and trying to determine what barriers are in the way of the technology being deployed. That same bill also created the American Center for Mobility. I want to highlight 3 projects. Those projects are a test we did with General Motors. We instrumented 2 intersections, and GM fully integrated that signal phasing and timing, that SPAT signal coming out of the intersection, integrated it into the car, and provided that feedback back to the driver. The haptic seat would vibrate, flash of red lights if they were about ready to run a red light. From that, we as an agency changed our traffic signal specifications and are requiring those new intersections that have new signals going up to be instrumented like that. What we've realized is that cost differential is coming down, and it's coming down dramatically. The second one is a partnership with 3M. This was really interesting because it involved a 2D barcode that was optimized for transportation use. And part of it was based on the leg of one of the construction signs, but the other part that was the most fascinating was it was embedded in the sheeting of the sign. Now that sheeting was invisible to the human eye as the driver drives down the road, but the machine vision in the car could pick that up. And what we established was there's a communication link through the machine vision to the car, to the signal or the sign that we could establish, and we could provide a bunch of information. We're looking forward to the next steps in that deployment and testing with 3M. And then the third one was the launch of Planet M. Planet M is the umbrella of all the activities happening in Michigan in the mobility space. It's Planet M, the place where big ideas of mobility are born. So in summary, I want to end where I started. It's 100 people a day are killed on roadways in the U.S. there will be an automated vehicle that comes along and it will have a crash. And there will be a fatality. And there will be lots of hand-wringing and accusations. But I ask you, what is that one fatality in relationship to the other 100 that happened on the roads that day? And what if your family was one of those other 100, and with the technology, you would have been saved? That's the balance that I think we have to strike. So I look at all of this activity across the board, and it takes solid partnerships. A test bed, just to build a test bed, really doesn't do much. You have to work with the partners that you have there, and you have to build on it from that point forward. You also have to provide legislation and guidance that gets the barriers, the artificial government barriers, out of the way that lets the technology move forward as it's ready. But at the same time, keep that responsibility with the people that develop the technology. I wish you well on your conference. Again, I'm sorry I can't be there, and I look forward to meeting all of you someday in person. Thank you all very much.